All right, good evening, and welcome to our Redox Molecule Animal Webinar. It is Tuesday, June 12th, and my name is Beth Wofford. I am a thoroughbred horse trainer calling in from Lexington, Kentucky. A few housekeeping tips before we start. First, that we ask that you please do not record these presentations. These webinars are being recorded on your behalf, and all of the archives are found at www.animalwebinar.com. It is password protected, so whoever brought you to this webinar, please just ask them for the password. We're building a library there of animal stories, and we encourage you to share them with everybody that comes along, but you do not have to record this yourself, and we ask that you don't. These webinars take place at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the second Tuesday of every month. And at that website as well, animalwebinar.com, you will find all the particulars. But since you're on this live, you knew how to get here, so that's great. Finally, and most important, please understand that we are not making any medical claims of any sort with our products. We are in no way suggesting that you not call your vet or you ignore their advice should your animal need medical care. These molecules do not heal or cure anything, but simply help each and every living cell work the way it was designed, which enables the body to heal itself. But also keep in mind these products are 100% safe and non-toxic, so feel free to use them in generous quantities with any animal that crosses your path. Tonight, our featured guest, this is going to be a great treat, is my friend Sherry Marshall from Texas. So Sherry, I turn it over to you.
That's great. Can you hear me okay?
You bet.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to start out a little bit with a little bit of background. And Beth, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the call. But I've always loved animals. All of my life, thought I was going to be a veterinarian until I had to put my first dog to sleep and went, I can't do the tough stuff. And I so admire the veterinarians that can do both sides of that. But what I found was I always did want to make a difference. I mean, some of the people on here may get this and some may laugh, but I actually had a pet butterfly. I had a pet grasshopper growing up. I mean, it wasn't just about the four-legged ones. I just love God's creatures. So this first slide tells you a lot about how I feel. Until one has loved an animal, part of one's soul remains unawakened. I really believe that. But tonight, what I'd like to do is kind of share a little bit of my goal. In this is to provide the best life possible for all of my babies, my animals, and all the animals that I know or know of until it's time for them to go to their next adventure. We have such a short time with our pets. I want their quality of life to be exceptional. So that's one of the reasons that I really got involved in this business and why I stay involved in it is that I tell people I like people, I love animals. So let me give you a little bit of background of what led me here. Mork is the beginning of my journey. My beautiful cat, Mork, I got him at 10 weeks old from a shelter in Richardson, Texas. At 6 months old, I took him to be neutered. And when I did, he came back with a funny look to his eye. Some of you will understand why when I tell you what he was diagnosed with. He was diagnosed with FIP. And for those that have cats, you'll know it as feline infectious peritonitis. It's 95% fatal. I was told to put him down right away and to end his suffering, but I looked for alternatives. That was my first glimpse into holistic medicine. I would probably have never looked at it for myself, but I would look at it for my cat because I had no other options. What I ended up doing is giving him large doses of vitamins through this holistic vet, and sometimes you had to give him traditional medicine as well to get him through crisis. I tell you about this was way before the molecules. I tell you about this because it led me to my journey. He's really the reason I'm here today, but the big thing about his story is you don't have to give up. When somebody says there is a fatality rate, yes, if an animal is suffering, absolutely. But look for other means, look for other avenues. Mork lived to be 16 years old. So there are options sometimes that you may not know of, but do the research. And I appreciate you being on tonight because you're doing the research for our babies. So the first one that really happened with the molecules was Gus. I married J.B. Marshall in 2010, and when I did, he came with Gus. And Gus was 8 years old, a beautiful dog, short hair pointer, full of life, full of vigor. And he ran everywhere and just a love of life. But at 13, his back leg started to give out on him. And what the vet said, that it would just get worse and worse because it was a communication from his brain to his legs. And it would actually move to his front legs as well. So one day he was actually in the kitchen and he went down and he couldn't get up. We tried everything. We would help him out a little bit and all that, but he stopped eating. He had lost his ability to walk. So his zest for life was really gone. I had only been in this business for a very short time. So I wasn't sure what all I should try, what all I could try, but we had made the appointment to put Gus down the next day. And I thought, I have nothing to lose. So I gave him the liquid, and he didn't lap it up right away. I had to put a little cheese in it, but I put a little cheese in it, and he drank it. And he didn't get up right away, but he drank some more. And then within, I'd say, an hour, he was able to get up on his legs, still very shaky and everything. But the thing about Gus is he was able to regain enough movement to have a quality of life for another 2 years because of the liquid. And I thank God for that every single day. So he drank that every day until that we finally did have to put him down. He was almost 16, just a bit shy of that. The next story I want to share is near and dear to my heart too. This is a friend of mine. Actually, she was an acquaintance at the time that I had been talking to from another company, and she does horse rescue. And this is from her site, Helping Horses and Heroes. The ones that look so bad are the horses that she actually rescued, and then the two beautiful horses in the middle of the page was about a year after being rescued. And that was all her, nothing to do with any of the molecules. But what happened is I sent her a couple of bottles to try for the horses because I have always wanted rescue groups or nonprofits to be involved in this. I believe that it could really save them a lot of veterinarian bills. It can save a lot of lives, and it can be an income stream for them. So I really wanted her to look at it. So I sent her a couple of bottles, didn't get much of an interest until about 2 or 3 months later. She actually had a virus go through the barn, and she had 5 horses that she dearly loved, and they got really, really sick. So they started putting them on the liquid molecules. And when they did, some had severe respiratory issues, coughing, snotty noses. Some had stopped eating. They weren't drinking much water. One had coordination problems, losing strength in their hindquarters. They were going downhill really, really fast. So they had tried conventional treatments from the vet, and nothing at this point was working. They started them on the liquid, and they would eat and they would drink, and the temps went down within a degree or 2 of normal. So that was great, except they ran out of it really quick. And when they ran out of it, they all regressed. So they all went back to really having problems. So by the time that the new order came in, the temps were back up. They were spiking over 104 temperatures. They weren't drinking again. It was hot in the summer. And within hours of starting them back on the liquid, what they saw was marked improvement with their temps going back down. All the breathing issues and coughing was easing. They were now eating and drinking, stable on their feet by the next morning. Within 24 to 48 hours, they were all considerably more comfortable. The nasal discharge was clearing up. But the best news is that they all made a complete recovery. They now, at their rescue group, go to this as their go-to product to help the animals heal quicker. So now we're in this business together, and she is one of my very dearest friends. So this one's really near and dear to my heart. If it looks like I'm reading something, when I'm reading somebody else's story, I want to make sure I get the facts right. So I am reading because I don't want to embellish or say things that aren't 100% true. So the next story, and I started to give you a little bit of disclosure before I even started this. These are my babies, so I may get emotional on some of these. I'm going to try not to so that I can keep it together. But this is Sugar and Tiger. And I rescued these guys when they were 1 day old. My son-in-law called me because these were abandoned in an apartment complex where he was working. And he said, you've got to come get them. So they were 1 day old whenever I got them, and they didn't ever know they were cats. So Sugar was a Spitfire. This is Sugar Baby. And she was always full of life until the day she wasn't. It was like she was full of life. You see, at 17, she looked absolutely awesome. 4 months later, she was dead. And she died from severe kidney disease. And you may be saying, well, that's not a very good story to tell. Well, it actually is, because it leads you to what I'm going to tell you next. And that is, you know, that because of her, I did not know she was sick. There obviously were signs, but not any signs that I knew of. But when something happens to our babies that we love so much, we sometimes make decisions that we wouldn't make if that wouldn't have happened. So what happened to me is when she died suddenly, then I looked at Tiger Baby, the other sister, and she had this lump on her side. And I just freaked out. I said, okay, I've got to get her to the vet. I've got to get this off. This is it. So I took her in, and I had this lump removed, and it was about the size of a 50-cent piece. It was a huge lump. But I never believed that it was really a dangerous lump. But after losing Sugar, I couldn't take the chance. So she went through a surgery at 17 years old, and she had to go through anesthesia. This is day 1 of her surgery, and that's day 3. You can see how well she was doing. The biggest thing is cats hate cones. That girl came home with a cone. I took it off right away. She never needed one again. I sprayed the liquid on this area, kept it sprayed, and because of that, she didn't even need any pain meds either. So that was remarkable. I tell you the story about Sugar because if I had it to do over, I probably would have shaved that area and tried the gel first before I went through a surgery. But I freaked. I was a regular parent that freaked out and said, I've got to get this off here now. It may have still needed to come off. And the whole thing is the molecules helped it to be able to heal up that quick as far as that, the incisions. And she did absolutely great. This is Tiger on her 19th birthday. It was about 2 weeks ago. And I will tell you, about 2 months ago, I took her back in because Tiger too has kidney problems. And what the vet told me about her is that all of her numbers, she is on the liquid, all of her numbers have stabilized. But the most remarkable thing is with kidney problems, you lose muscle mass. And she was losing muscle mass, and you could see it in her body, you could see it in her face. My vet said that she actually had regained muscle mass, and that was something she had not seen for an animal this age. And she is full of life. I'm telling you, she keeps me up at night because she wants to play all the time. So she is doing absolutely awesome. So this story is Ranger. Now, Ranger is a friend of mine, so I'm going to make sure I've got the story right on this one. I talked to a friend of mine from AT&T, that's where I retired from, and told her about this company about 2 years ago. Told her my vision about helping animals and people, but really didn't get any interest from her at the time. But about 6 months ago, I got a call from her, and she said that Ranger was having a terrible problem with his feet, and could this possibly help? He had a very bad case of bacterial infection that is resistant to antibiotics. She had already spent thousands of dollars trying to help this dog. He was wearing a cone every single day and night, 24 hours a day, and she was having to really squeeze these bloody sores on his feet. I know that sounds awful, but in order to get this terrible infection out of him. So she decided to try this with Ranger, and she gave him the liquid and pretty large doses. And after a couple of weeks, she saw the improvement, but it wasn't gone completely. So she wasn't sure if she should stay on it or if she should go back. And so she went to the vet, and she asked him, what should I do? And he said, keep him on whatever you're doing, because nothing else has even come close to doing this well. It actually took about 3 to 4 months for the feet to heal completely, but that was no antibiotics during that time. And now he has no sores on his feet. This is a current picture, no cone on that boy's head. So he is a happy little ranger. So that was absolutely a great story for me, because, my animals are one thing, but helping other people's animals, you feel the compassion, you also feel the responsibility so much. You want to make sure that you really get the result that you want from it. So next is my Mama Kitty. Let me tell you a little story about Mama Kitty. Mama Kitty was a feral cat, wild as a March hen. She was so wild that I moved into a house in 2002, and she was already way grown when I took her in and got her spayed. They said she was at least 3 years old, they thought, and probably older than that. She was so wild that when I took her in just for a rabies shot, they had to actually put her under anesthesia, which was so scary to me. But they had to do that. She was that wild. Within about 5 years, she decided that she could be a house cat. She could be a lap kitty. So she became the most wonderful house cat ever, and was in my lap all the time. So she was about, I don't know if she was 19 or 20 last year, and all of a sudden she got this lump right underneath her chin that was about the size, maybe half the size of a golf ball by the time that I took her in. And it was so fast growing that it went from like pea size to that size in like maybe 3 or 4 days. It was just so scary. So I took her into the vet, and they did some tests on her, and we got back the news that was devastating, that this was really, really bad cells. They were fast growing bad cells, and that I should look at putting her down within the next 2 to 3 days, because she wasn't going to be able to eat or drink. So this is Mama Kitty about that time. And what we did is that was 310 when I got the results, and this is from my veterinarian on 329. She says, follow up, notable reduction of approximately 80 to 85% of presenting size of original tumor. Owner is to continue to administer the liquid. So this was a big eye-opener for me. What I used for her, because some of you are going to wonder, I had the veterinarian shave that area. I used the gel on her 3 to 4 times a day, and this girl loved the liquid. She would drink it up. So she would drink 1 to 2 ounces a day. She was phenomenal at that. But when this happened, and by the way, she ended up within the next probably month to 2 months, I could not feel anything of the lump any longer. It was completely gone. But what it did for me is it changed me. And what I mean by that is that when you go through something this big, you think about who should I be helping? Who should I be sharing this with? Who needs to know this? And it was life-changing for me, because I said, it's time for me to get off my butt and have the people know what we have our hands on. This absolutely is that big of a deal. So Mama Kitty was responsible for a lot of good things, not just this, but in really my mindset and how I looked at things. So to summarize, these molecules are safe for us, and they're safe for our animals. I did have somebody say to me the other day, is this just for animals? It's actually a people product, just so you know. But because I talk about animal stories more than anything else, some people wonder if it's even for people. Don't be afraid to use it to improve your animal's quality of life. Obviously, everything is going to die. At some point, we're all going to die. At some point, we may get sick. But if we can improve our quality of life or our animals' quality of life, how wonderful is that? I want to say thank you to the vets that are open to this new area of science. I don't look for a vet that comes into the business with me. I look for a vet that's just open to what I'm doing, to where that, for lack of a better word, they don't get in my way for what I want to try to do with my pets. But we need them. We need the veterinarians. We need them to be able to do the tests on our animals, and traditional medicine still has a really big role. There are some things we need that for, but thank goodness they are getting more and more open to this new area of science. And then thanks to all of you, because you're on this call tonight, which means that you're an animal lover. And that means you're sharing this. And I really thank you for that, because I believe if we come together as a community, we can make a big, big difference in the lives of a lot of animals. So to end it, together we make a big difference in all of their lives. It doesn't matter what kind of animal that we have. It doesn't matter, it's a dog, a cat, a guinea pig, whatever it is. We can make a big difference in the quality of their lives. And so I thank you for letting me share my story tonight. And so really, that's all I've got, unless you've got some questions.
Oh, Sherry, that was brilliant. I loved all the stories, and you covered a vast array, many different species. You really very clearly showed us that these molecules really do work on every living cell. And I thank you so much. That was just brilliant.
You're welcome.
It's great. We will be meeting again on July 10th. I look forward to seeing any and all of you who would like to join us, and please ask anyone to join us who you would like to bring on as guests. So, Sherry, thank you again. You're wonderful. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
You all take care.